Now it's been officially confirmed. Moon in the 3rd house. Amazing handwriting. Thank you. And Miss Siri-chan, there's the example. Amazing. Yeah, that's just from today. Wow. Right? I do not have Moon in the 3rd house. We also had Roy. Hey guys, here's a quick, someone who's willing to share their chart. Roy has which planets here?
I have Venus, well, VER, it says Venus.
Yeah, Venus is retrograde. Okay, Venus. Mercury.
The
Moon.
and the Sun.
And the Sun. In the 8th house. What can we say about what Roy does? What is Roy all about? Suffering. About suffering. Yes? Sorry? Oh, yes, sorry. Okay. Well, anyhow, with 4 planets in the 8th house, what can we expect about this person? Well, let's. Do you want to share what you do?
Well, I'm an addiction counselor, and before that, I ran the Department of Health data for the state of California HIV/AIDS program. So I have 30 years of working in service.
Is that amazing? I got goosebumps when I heard that. 8th house, sex and death. And how much more literal do you want to get? And of course, he has other placements which allow him to balance this and lead a very balanced, creative, powerful life. But that's a powerful chart. You know, yes. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
What does it mean if it's a retrograde?
Retrograde. Many of you will see an R next to one of the planets. Moon and Sun can never be retrograde. Rahu and Ketu are always retrograde, so don't worry about them. The rest of the planets can have an R next to them. Retrograde means that the planet was closest to the Earth at the time of your birth. Because it's very close to the Earth, it's very bright. So retrograde planets are strong, powerful. Now, they also appeared, from our vantage point, to be moving backwards in the sky. So just like when you pass someone on the highway, looks like that car is moving backwards relative to you. It's not moving backwards, it's actually going, but you're going faster than it. So as the Earth is passing another planet, here it looks like the planet is slowing down, stopped, and now it looks like that planet is going backwards. So we say this planet is retrograde. Now, here's where things get a little bit iffy, and I'm going to give you the lowdown. No extra charge. A retrograde planet is considered bad when we do horary astrology, which is like, oh, Mercury's retrograde right now in the sky, so people can't communicate. Okay? But if a planet, so for purposes of horary astrology means casting a chart for the moment or for an event. So say if someone asks you, am I going to win, or is Federer going to beat Nadal today? And you do the chart and there are retrograde planets. Means no. This is a very general. But in your charts, this is called natal astrology. A retrograde planet just indicates strength, not negativity. In fact, a retrograde planet can be very positive. Make sense? So if you ask me a question and I pull the chart for the question and it's all retrograde planets, it means negative. No, it won't happen. Or there's a lot of obstacles. But for what we're doing, retrogression means strength, because that planet was very close to the Earth. Of course, if you have a retrograde Saturn, it'll increase Saturn. And maybe if Saturn's in your 8th house, it might increase suffering because Saturn is very strong. But by itself, it's neither bad or good, it's just strong. Okay? So that's what R means next to a planet. So as we're going over these, if you have, actually we haven't even hit, only Saturn out of these can be retrograde. The moon can never be retrograde, Rahu and Ketu or Sun. But Jupiter can, and if you have a retrograde Jupiter, it's a strong Jupiter. Now, when Dr. Lad returns, and this is for those of you who are in the Ayurvedic Studies program, he takes a retrograde planet to mean you have unsettled karma from a past life. This is more of a Western approach, and this is a minority amongst Vedic astrologers see it this way. However, Dr. Lad, of course, is sort of working at a level that's beyond the ordinary and the mundane. So for him, it certainly works. But typically, a retrograde planet just means strength. So Dr. Lad will say, if you have retrograde Jupiter, you insulted a guru in a past life. And so you are paying for that through the area. Now, he won't tell you this. He hasn't said this yet. But through the area of the house that Jupiter sits in. So if the Jupiter is in your 1st house, then you're paying through the area of the body somehow, returning the favor to, like by somehow sacrificing your body or giving of your body and of yourself. If it's in your 5th house, anyway, so on. I don't want to get into that. So Dr. Lad gives an extra twist to that retrogression and says it is karma from a past life that is not settled yet. Okay? But that's not, we won't go into that today. Okay, other questions? Okay, awesome. Who should we work on next? We got to get all of them done before lunch, so we're going to speed through this, okay? Speaking of speed and intensity, let's go with Mars. Mars. Where Mars is where your energy goes. Okay? Where Mars is where your energy goes. Mars in the 1st house. Into your body. A lot of athletes or athletic people need to be active. You see somebody with Mars in the 1st house and they say, should I take that job in the cubicle working 9 to 5? No, you shouldn't. Don't do it. You'll blow up the place. Okay? Mars in the 2nd. Can be harsh speech. Why did you do that? Hey, get over here. Mars, energy, speech, 2nd house. Okay? Your energy goes. Likewise, Mars through the rest of the houses will show you where your energy goes. Should we do them all? All right, let's go real quick. Mars in the 3rd. One-liner. Mars in the 3rd, this is a soldier, a cop, someone who is just courage, has no younger brothers or sisters. Okay? Mars in the 4th, bad relationship with mom or the home, restless, may have left home early.
Does this apply also to the rulers of the houses?
Back up. Question was, does this apply to the rulers of the houses? Please specify. What do you mean?
I'll say a Mars is a ruler of, say, Scorpio.
No, we're not taking rulerships, just the planet signification itself in the house. By the way, Dr. Bill had a question, a request to cover a little bit of Ayurveda and the planets and Jyotish. Do you guys want to do that a little bit at the end? Yeah? Sure. That's something you want to learn? Ayurveda and do some Ayurveda and Jyotish. Okay, we'll do some of that later. But first, let's find out.
Mars doesn't necessarily mean bad.
No, Mars is energy. When that energy has a good outlet, then
As far as when you just said bad relationship with mom or left home early.
yeah, well, see, Mars in the 4th house, there's too much energy and the kid wants to play and mom says, sit down and finish your meal. I don't want to finish. Mars is energy, and it doesn't, or it could mean mom was very energetic, or mom was somehow Martian, okay, Martian mom, or Mars in the home, fire in the home. So when Dr. Lad sees Mars in the home, there are red bricks. This is a red brick house. Or the fireplace is here. Because Mars is also fire, fire in the home. And fire in the home can be difficult to tame. Mars in the 5th, creative, flirtatious, can be very romantic, very sort of bold. 5th house is the mind, critical thinker. Mars in the 5th will often give a scar here. Wherever Mars goes, you may have a scar there. So Mars in the 1st house, maybe a scar on the head, the eyebrow, somewhere on the face. 1st house is the head. Now we're getting into medical Jyotish. Okay, there we go. You have Mars in the 1st and you have one there? Okay. Can we see? Okay, yeah. No, I mean, can we see how this works? I don't want to see the scar. Yeah, I got one right here on my 8th house. We don't want to see 8th house Mars, please. Okay? Because, okay, if we want to talk about parts of the body, head, face/lips, mouth, right? Arms, ears.
Are you going in order?
I'm going in order. Oh yes, yeah. I'll get out of the way. Let me finish writing it. Chest and heart, abdomen, lower abdomen, internal sex organs, external sex organs, including anus, upper leg, so the thigh, knees, calves, feet. Okay, that's the order of the houses. So, where Mars sits, huh? Oh, okay, we have another confirmation. Mars in the 12th house, scar on the foot. Yeah? So, where Mars sits, you will often have a scar. Okay? By the way, I have Mars in the 5th. I have that also. Appendicitis for me.
I have a scar on my hand.
On your, yeah?
On my calf.
Where is your Mars?
In the 11th house.
Okay, 11th house. Amazing.
If you don't have one, does that mean you might?
Means be careful. Wear padding to whatever area your. Where's your Mars? Upper leg. Okay. You know how football players wear those? Just walk around with those. You'll be okay. Mars in the 5th, abdomen. Now, Mars in the 5th can also indicate abortions or, cutting to the stomach in general, or a cesarean section.
Ulcers? Some kind
Hernia.
of internal
Hernias, yeah. Sorry?
scarring? Like ulcers?
Yeah, ulcers. It depends on where you feel them. So if you feel them here, it could be 4th house, 5th house, or 6th house, depending on where you're feeling. Yeah, but burning. I mean, an ulcer is burning, right? That's Mars. Anyone else with a Mars story? Okay, so wherever Mars sits, he will tend to cause penetration. Mars is great for surgeons. If you don't have a strong Mars, you cannot become a good surgeon. You probably won't become a good surgeon. Let's avoid superlatives and extremes. Hands are 3rd house. Arms and hands are all 3rd house. Okay?
So you were finishing up the houses with Mars.
Yes. So Mars in the 4th house. So Mars in the 5th, yes. Mars in the 6th. Mars in the 6th house is actually it's a good place for Mars. These people can be fighters. Mars in the 6th makes people very passionate about 6th house stuff, which is enemies. So you get boxers, martial artists, daily routine and disease. So you get doctors. Enemies can also be lawyers. Mars in the 6th can make lawyers, especially the ambulance chaser type of lawyer who likes to sue people, right? Because Mars is confrontation, 6th house is enemies. You confront. Hey, I'm going to sue you. That's a form of battle. Okay, Mars in the 7th means you like Martian or you attract Martian partners. Either they're athletic or they're sort of Martian, outgoing, not the soft-spoken, quiet type, Mars. Okay? My mom has Mars in the 7th. So what does that mean?
Your dad was intense.
My dad was intense. Yes, exactly. So you could look at people, you could look at, say, your sister or your brother and find out about yourself, or your mom and find out about yourself, or if your mom has Mars in the 5th, it means you are, right? Because the 5th house is kids. That make sense? Okay, or your dad. Mars in the 7th. Mars in the 8th. Okay, at the risk of offending anyone under 18, and you can just do this now. But my teacher used to say, and so I'll repeat it. Mars in the 8th. I'm not going to get this on tape. Should we get this on tape or off tape? Or you can edit it later.
You will edit it later.
Mars in the 8th, crooked penis. Mars in the 8th, crooked penis. Because Mars is called Vakri. Vakri means crooked one. Because the orbit of Mars is irregular. It's crooked in the sky. It's tilted, it goes its own way. Mars can go retrograde for like 6 months. No planet goes retrograde for 6 months. He does it because he wants to do it. Because Martian people do what they want to do. They have that gusto. But a literal meaning, 8th house, external sex organs. Mars, crooked. Also can mean hemorrhoids. Mars, bleeding. Mars is blood, heat in the anal or genital area. Okay? We can get very literal, or we can be very meditative. Your yantra will allow you to do all of this, right? Okay, Mars in the 9th. Mars in the 9th, this is a lucky person. Mars in the 9th means a lot of energy in the area of fortune, father, travel, religion. Mars in the 9th. Your energy goes towards those things. Towards pursuing. Maybe your guru is very Martian. Maybe your guru is Kartikeya. Kartikeya or Skanda is represented by Mars. He's the general of the gods. He's the son of Shiva. And if you have Mars in the 9th house, you may worship Kartikeya, or your guru may be like a Shiva or that type of guru, very Martian. Make sense? Even if it's a woman, she can be very Martian.
How do you know if a person is Martian? Or how is that?
9th house rules the father or the guru. If Mars is there, the father or the guru is Mars-like. This is a good question, actually. We're going to talk about that. Whatever planet influences your ascendant. So the question was, how do we know if someone is Martian, if someone is Saturnian, if someone is Venusian? The short answer is, if you have one of those planets in your first house, you are that. So if you have Mars in the first house, you are Martian. If you have Venus in the first house, you are Venusian. If you have Saturn in the first house, you're a Saturnian. And therefore, you pay special attention to that planet. You develop a relationship with that planet. I have Saturn in the first house. Therefore, I have to develop a special relationship with the aging process, with Saturn as a personification of old age, wisdom. Vata joints. It gives you a perspective on your life. If you have Mars in the first house, be careful of accidents. Don't drive too fast, because you are Martian. Mars rules accidents, haste, speed, energy, aggression, cutting. By extension, now we put Mars in the 9th house, therefore your father or your guru has those qualities. So that's why I came to the conclusion that you may have a Martian guru. If you have Mars in the 5th, what could that mean? Your children have that, or your children may be athletic. Your children may grow up to be firefighters.
I have a Martian mother.
Yeah? Do you?
I do.
She has a Martian mother, okay?
And she has had 2 houses burned down.
Oh, okay. Fire in the home. So there it is, right? But your relationship with her is good? It's fiery. Okay. So her comment is, because you asked before, well, Mars isn't necessarily bad, is it? And I said, no, it's not bad, it's just energy, but fire doesn't like to be in the home, or it has a hard time being contained. So she confirmed for us that Mars in the 4th, a fiery mother, fiery relationship with the mother, and 2 homes that burned down.
I have the same.
You have the same? So
I have a house that was burned.
you have
I
Mars.
have a very bad relationship with my mother.
Okay. In the 4th house, Mars in the 4th? Okay.
Yeah.
Confirmation. That's amazing.
Could you say again what it means if Mars is in the first house? That's actually how you determine if they're Martian, Saturnian?
Yes. So the planet, we were going to cover, and we will cover this a little bit later, but this is how you know, as an archetype, who you are. This is one way to archetypally look at yourself, by the planet that sits in your ascendant. Some of you will not have a planet in your ascendant. Then we will take the ruler of your ascendant as that. And we will get into who rules what after lunch. Okay?
Could you just repeat about the Mars?
So Mars in the 1st house, accident prone. Scars on the heads, should not drive too fast. Athletic. Bilious, Pitta nature. Mars is Pitta. Mars, Sun, Pitta. Saturn, Vata. Rahu, Vata on steroids. Saturn is Saturn. Rahu is Saturn like on LSD. Very similar. So in Jyotish we say Rahu acts like Saturn. Ketu will act like Mars on amphetamines. So Ketu can also give scars where Ketu sits. But they can also be internal scars with Ketu. So Mars in the 1st house. Okay, makes sense? They won't have a reddish complexion. Maybe bloodshot eyes. You know, we want to take things to the extreme and create a picture of Mars in the 1st house. Okay? Mars in the 10th, type A, career-oriented, go, go, go. If Saturn is the iron fist in the velvet glove, Mars is not iron and there's no velvet, it's just fire. You know, Saturn, when he gives an order and you don't follow it, make sure his family gets taken to prison. And they deal with it like that. Mars person gives an order, you don't follow it? Bam! Done. Okay, Mars very direct. Saturn likes to work behind the scenes. Okay, so that's why dictators, how do they become dictators? They do coups. They cause revolutions, but they work behind the scenes. They create the environment of change, and then it happens. But Martians just go, you know, a very extreme negative manifestation of Mars was Hitler. There's nothing subtle about that guy. He was also very courageous. You know, I don't know how many gold stars or whatever he won in World War I, but he was extremely courageous. But very Martian guy, very direct. Let's do this. Let's take over the government. You know, let's burn the building. What was the
Chancellery.
The chancellery? Let's burn it. Mars. Nothing subtle. Mars can be very positive also. Sushruta, the great surgeon, an example of Mars. You cannot cut without having a strong Mars. Otherwise, you're squeamish. Mars is not squeamish. Okay? Next planet. Venus?
Wait, can you just finish it?
Just
real quick.
Mars in 10th. Mars in the 11th. Mars in the 11th. So what is Mars in the 11th?
Intense play.
Intense.
Energy to go out and have a good time.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Are you guessing, or is that from?
Guessing, yeah.
Okay. Because it sounds like that was from personal experience. He said intense play, a lot of energy to go out. Yeah, Mars in the 11th, yeah, can give a very entrepreneurial streak. Someone who wants to do their own business, because 11th house is easy money. They don't want to work 9 to 5. They want to, yeah, they'll work very hard, but they want to make it themselves and make do a startup. Mars, excuse me. Mars in the 11th can actually also be an obstacle to money, because Mars is a malefic. And as a malefic, he may goes to your easy money situation. So there's different ways. Do I have like stuff on my face? No, okay, good. Okay, or a scar on your calves, right? Which we've gotten confirmed already. Mars in the 11th. Mars in the 12th. What is Mars in the 12th?
Would that be someone whose life may be really energy focused towards liberation?
Yeah, Mars is just energy. Your energy goes to the area where Mars sits. It's very simple. Jyotish at this level is very easy. The question was, what was the question?
I was just making an observation. If you think about a sadhu and he's on his feet with his wooden sandals,
Yes.
walking, and his life is about moving the feet and not settling into one space.
Beautiful. If you're looking at a sadhu or a spiritual aspirant and he's in wooden sandals and just walking everywhere, and he's getting thorns in his feet, he's getting his feet are yes. So Mars is energy towards moksha, liberation. Or you could have a podiatrist who's a surgeon. Mars in the 12th, cuts feet. Or you could have an alcoholic. Mars is energy towards escapism. Which is it? Look at the rest of the chart. Okay, we got to move on.
The third house.
Mars in the 3rd, very courageous. Athlete or a police officer or army, someone who doesn't mind jumping into the fray. Someone who has no younger siblings or no brothers or sisters. Someone who, or at least limited siblings. Mars in the 3rd house denies, especially younger siblings. Good courage. Also, Mars in the 3rd could mean a hairdresser. The 3rd house, here's another meaning. I'll just whip this one out for you. 3rd house rules the trades. The trades. Plumbers, carpenters, hairdressers, sanitation engineers, massage therapists. Why massage therapists? 3rd house, arms and hands. Mars in the 3rd house, boy, you're using your hands and arms. You could be one of those officers in the middle of the street who give directions. All right. There you fulfill 2 things, police officer and work in the hands. Boy, if someone said, yeah, I do that, that'd be all right, class dismissed, that's it. Yeah. So the 3rd house is the trades. If you have Moon or Venus, you're more in the artistic trades. Maybe you are you teach art, or you teach yoga, dance yoga, or you're a hairdresser and you do beautiful hair designs. But if you have like Mars, Saturn, the bad planets, then you work more with plumbing as a trade. Rather than creating beauty, you fix whatever needs to be fixed. Or you become the type of massage therapist that's very deep tissue, whatever. Make sense? Massage therapist, you're on your feet. You're working. You're you know? Hairdresser, on their feet all day. They're working very hard. Third house, remember, energy, hard work, I can do it attitude. Hairdressers work for themselves. Plumbers work for themselves. A little bit of an independent spirit. Okay? Questions? Next. Okay, Venus. Venus equals beauty. Where Venus sits is where your beauty is. What's beautiful in your life. If you have Venus in your first house, means you're beautiful. You have physical beauty, means your body is well proportioned. You are attractive to look at. Angelina Jolie, Venus in the first house. She ain't bad to look at. Right? Venus in the first. Venus in the second. Again, your face could be beautiful. You may eat or love sumptuous food. People with Venus in the second love chocolate. They love sugar. They love sumptuous food. Second house is food. Venus in the third.
Could that also mean your family's beautiful?
Yes, it could. And your money's beautiful.
Externally?
Yes, yes. But also that you have money in the bank. The question was, could that mean that your family is beautiful? And the answer is yes. Everything the second house rules, money. People with Venus in the second house just have money in their bank account. They just never have zero balance in their bank account. Venus in the second house. How's your bank account? So-so? It's not empty. And it usually isn't empty, right? Okay. Second house is bank account.
And my family's beautiful.
So, and the family is beautiful. That was the second part of it. Beautiful. Thank you, Siri Chan, for bringing that up. Okay. Venus in the third. Beauty, artistic. Now we have someone who is an artist and who could create beauty, either through any of the classical arts. Classical arts are sculpture, painting, acting, dance, what am I missing? Music. Those five. Venus in the third, you can bet that person is doing one of those. Anybody with Venus in the third? Who wants to share?
Yeah, I'm Venus in the third.
Are you a closet
build
Baryshnikov?
stuff. Huh?
Are you a closet Baryshnikov?
No, but I build stuff. I create and I build, but none of those points that you made.
Okay.
Not sculpting.
Not sculpting, but you build buildings and stuff like that?
Yeah.
But there's an aesthetic quality to it?
Yeah.
Or there is a sense of, I don't know, it's not like, there's a sense of aesthetic
I think so.
satisfaction to it.
Definitely.
Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. Okay, it doesn't have to be literal. So he said he builds buildings, businesses, right? Okay.
Experiences.
Okay. Venus in the fourth. Beautiful home. Good. Beautiful mother. Good relationship with the mom. Okay. Venus in the fifth. Beautiful mind. Beautiful children. That's what's beautiful. Venus in the fifth makes you very romantic. Okay? Venus in the sixth. Venus in the sixth. By the way, when we talk about Mars, Mars can also be tattoos, especially K2. So where tattoos go can also be indicated by, because it's piercing, right? Also. Do you have Mars? Yeah? Okay. Where?
On my calf.
But where's your Mars in your horoscope?
It's on my calf.
It's in your calf? Okay, awesome. Okay, another Mars in the calf, so we got one more. Okay, Mars in the sixth. This will be a great nutritionist, someone who understands food, relationship to food, good worker, so on, doesn't make a lot of enemies. Venus in the 7th loves the opposite sex. Prince, Venus in the 7th, just loves the opposite sex, whether you're a man or a woman. Okay? And with beautiful partners. You have beautiful partners, people who are beautiful. Venus in the 8th, there is something aesthetic about the, in one sense, it could be an embalmer, someone who takes a dead body and makes it beautiful, right? It can be a beautiful, an ecstatic poet, a Sufi poet, who goes into deep trance and creates beautiful oral tradition. It taps into an oral tradition and expresses it. Of course, their second house would have to be okay too. Venus in the 9th, female guru, female goddess. Love, again, good for travel. Beautiful father. Venus in the 10th, a career in, because 10th house is profession, a career in the entertainment industry, fashion designer, advertising. Okay? Venus in the 10th, beauty and career go together. Pretty simple. This isn't rocket science. This is pretty, Venus in the 11th. Venus in the 11th, beautiful friends, lots of money. Now, 11th house is spending money. Money that you've got right here in your hands. Second house is your bank account. What you got to back you up. Okay? So, spending money, people like to spend money and make money. And maybe have nice tattoos on their calves. So if you have Venus and Mars in the 11th, you could have a tattoo, but it'd be beautiful. If you have Mars and Saturn in the 11th, then it'd be like some going like that. Just a different sense. Okay, Venus in the 12th, a love of bed pleasures, a beautiful bedroom. Okay. All right, so it is 1:15.
One quick question. What is Venus retrograde?
Venus retrograde, so the question is, what is Venus retrograde? A retrograde retrograde means going opposite of the direction the planets usually go. So first of all, it means it's a powerful Venus, because it was very close to the Earth, and when you looked up at the sky at night, it would be very bright. So it's a beautiful Venus. But Dr. Ladd would say there is some karma from a past life. And for a retrograde planet, planet goes in the opposite direction that other planets go. So if you have retrograde Jupiter, your spiritual beliefs may go opposite the direction of maybe what your father or mother believed, or what maybe the religion you're born in. If your Mars is retrograde, you put your energy into things that are different. So if Venus is retrograde, alternative art, alternative sense of beauty. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How do you know if it's retrograde?
It says R next to it. How do you know if it's retrograde? There's an R next to it. Sometimes an RX means retrograde. Retrograde,
Sometimes they put underscore.
in some charts, they will put a line under it, and that means retrograde. Not in the charts you have. The ones I've printed for you, there's an R next to it. Okay? And, yes?
Would you mind just telling us what the rest of the planets represent, just so that we can...
Before lunch? Yeah, let's finish that up. So who's left?
Mercury.
Mercury. It's what you love to talk about. Who has Mercury in the first house? Okay, Joyce, Pablo, love to talk about yourself, your experiences, your life. Okay, it's not bad or good. It is. Arnold Schwarzenegger has Mercury in the first house. I don't worry about the other guy, I just worry about myself. I can't do that accent. Okay, so wherever Mercury goes is what you tend to verbalize. If you got Mercury in the 7th, God bless your friends, because you're just talking about relationships all the time. Oh, my boyfriend did this, or my girlfriend did that. blah, blah, blah. Okay? Mercury in the 7th. Mercury in the 4th, you talk about your land or your mom. Mercury in the 5th, you talk about this poem you wrote, or 5th house can be lovers, so a lover you had, a flirtation, or Mercury in the 9th, you talk about religion, God. Okay? Mercury.
Mercury in the 8th.
Mercury in the 8th, we talk. So, well, using words to talk about death and sex, verbalizing death, sex, and the profound experiences of life, suffering, talking about suffering. Mercury is a beautiful planet because it brings out whatever it touches, it makes it, it brings it to the superficial level. So even if it's a deep subject, it'll make it understandable. So if you have a speaker, public speaker, or a writer, you want them to have a good Mercury because they can make things understandable. If their Mercury is somehow afflicted, then their ability to communicate in an easy, superficial way to make people understand just very quickly is affected. So say you have Rahu and Mercury together. Well, it can mean deep, profound insights, but it could also mean that your nervous system is whacked and you're blah, 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 blah. Because Mercury rules your nervous system and your skin, which Ayurvedically are very connected because they're both places of which dosha? Vata, skin and the nerves, right? Okay? Who's left? Let's not forget. Om Gum Shri Guravyo Namaha. Om Gum Shri Gurave Namaha. Jupiter. Jupiter beneficially expands everything it touches. Okay? Jupiter in the 1st house, it will expand your body and you become a fatty fellow of 40. As Dr. Loud likes to say. How does it? Cute and chubby. Jupiter in the 1st house. Now, of course, not everybody with Jupiter in the 1st house is overweight. The point is that it's a happy kind of there's a sense of jolliness there because Jupiter is the great benefic where Jyotish is so beautiful, it reflects real life. There are more malefics than benefics. Saturn, Ketu, Rahu, Sun, all malefic. Because life is mostly about avoiding the bad things. You eat so you don't go hungry and die. You drink water for the same reason. You bathe. You walk on the side. Everything is about avoiding danger. We know this from Darwin and from just natural selection. But there are a few things that are good. And Jupiter represents one of the best of those.
What about Jupiter retrograde in the 1st house?
Even stronger. Okay. Can I use you as an example?
Go, please.
Would you say, and he's not on camera, but would you say by looking at this person that he's a jolly looking person?
Yes.
Have you ever played Santa Claus?
Yes,
You
not wearing the outfit.
Not wearing the outfit, okay.
Giving gifts, yes.
Okay. Well, and beautiful point. So Jupiter is generous, it's effusive, it gives. So person with Jupiter in the 1st house, Paul Newman has Jupiter in the 1st house. He created a charity, Newman Zone, to help kids play, to help them find time in nature. People with Jupiter in the 1st house are gurus. They're teachers, they're advisors, they're counselors. Because guru is the name of Jupiter, by the way, in Sanskrit. And guru gives of itself. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Astronomically, Jupiter is a huge planet. It's extremely dense. What does guru mean? Heavy. How do they know that? Saturn, by contrast, can also be called Vayu, which is air or wind. If you put Saturn on water, he will float. The whole planet Saturn will float. It's just gas. How do they know that? Right? Saturn rules Vata, Vayu, gas, wind. Jupiter is dense. Also, astronomers tell us that during the early formation of the solar system, Jupiter well, Jupiter would like sling asteroids at the Earth because of the gravity, and they would hit Earth, and that's where all the water and the elements of life sort of came from. But as the asteroids sort of started becoming more and more rare, now when things enter the atmosphere, now that life exists, Jupiter's gravity pulls 99% of them out of our path. The Guru protects you. Yeah. So if we didn't have Jupiter, there would be no civilization. We'd be constantly be battered by meteors, comets, all that kind of space junk. Now the only space junk we really have to worry is the stuff we put up there, satellites and whatnot. But there's a profound correspondence between the actual physical reality that we now know through science to be out there and the reality that they told us about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Guru's heavy, Saturn's light. How do they know that? Anyway, so Jupiter will beneficially expand everything. Now, Jupiter can, in certain instances, rule tumors that expand. So he's not always benign, but he has to be influenced by really bad guys. Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, Mars will influence Jupiter in a bad way. Okay? So Jupiter in the first house makes the person himself or herself, a guru or teacher or counselor. Jupiter in the second.
My
Yes?
son is actually going to school to become a teacher for special education children. His Jupiter's in the first.
Jupiter in the first house. Jupiter, and what is Jupiter? And that type of teaching is all about sharing yourself. You're giving of yourself. Of course, you get something else in return, but it's not material. Beautiful, thank you. Okay, Jupiter in the second. Chubby cheeks. Because the second house is the face. So it'll emphasize. First house is the body in general and your general aura. Second house, face. Also, you may like fatty food. Okay, Jupiter rules the fat tissues. Jupiter in the third, it will expand the area of the classical arts. It'll expand the area of courage. It may mean you have a cool older brother, Jupiterian older brother, or younger brother, just a sibling. You have a Jupiter-like sibling. Jupiter in the fourth, happy home, happy mom, happy space in the heart. Jupiter in the fourth. Everything we said about Saturn, remember we talked about Marilyn Monroe has Saturn in the fourth house, a sense of being a servant to others, feeling the weight of the world, not being happy. Jupiter in the fourth is the opposite. You're just, your ancestral legacy is strong, good family, you come from good roots. Okay? Jupiter in the fifth, great mind, very sattvic mind. One thing about Jupiter in the fifth, could deny children. Could deny children. This is from a special principle in Jyotish. Not always, but it could mean the person may not want children, or just children don't come, or they come later. Jupiter in the sixth. Now here's a problem, because sixth house is daily habits and how often you eat. So Jupiter in the sixth person may like to eat a lot. So weight problems you may notice here, Jupiter in the sixth. Or even if they don't eat a lot, they may eat just a little bit and gain weight from that. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger used to look at a dumbbell and his biceps grew. Not because he had Jupiter here, but because he had very powerful ascendant. Same thing with people with Jupiter in the sixth. Their relationship because food is expanded. They look at it and they gain 5 pounds. Okay? Jupiter in the seventh expands relationships. Jupiter in the eighth expands the desire to experience profound insights or sexual experience, or to go look into death. Jupiter in the ninth.
Sorry, to go look into what?
Into death, get transcendent beyond. Jupiter in the eighth house makes you dig deep into the hidden causes of things. Jupiter in the ninth, religion, travel. Basically expanding the meanings of each house in a benevolent way. Except that Jupiter in 6, 8, or 12, because these are the negative houses. House 6, enemies. House 8, death. And house 12, loss, are considered negative houses. Okay? When Jupiter is in one of those, he may expand the negative as well as the positive. Like we talked about the 6th house, problems with food. 8th house, maybe they want too much sex or too much experience. Jimi Hendrix had Jupiter in the 8th house. Voodoo child. I mean, he really wanted to experience that other side of life. And, had he lived, he might have become a very sort of insightful spiritual. He was an insightful spiritual, but he went too far. So, and Jupiter in the 12th, too far in terms of excesses, but Jupiter in the 12th can indicate, moksha, enlightenment, because going too deep into moksha, you really can't go too deep into that. Okay, so Jupiter in the 10th, prominent career, or expands the area of career. Jupiter in the 11th, it expands easy money and the desire for easy money. And Jupiter in the 12th, moksha. Okay? Now it is 1:30 and we're taking lunch. Okay, so we're recommending Jyotish software. If you want free, go to jyotishtools.com, an excellent site. I've downloaded Junior Jyotish. That's how I made your charts from Junior Jyotish. The problem is you have to supply the longitude, latitude yourself and the time zone, which can be a problem. So the way I do that is I go to another site, and it's a lot of work. But Jyotish Tools will also let you download for 30 days free their sort of bigger, fuller program that has everything automatic. You just punch in date, time, place, blip, and you got the chart. Then if you decide you like it, I forget how much it is, like 50, 60 bucks, not a lot. There is also Parashara's Light. Good program. These tend to run in the couple hundreds of dollars, $200 to $300. How much? Who has it? How much did you pay? Close to 300. Okay. Then there is Shri Jyoti Star. This is the one my teacher prefers. Shri Jyoti Star. Like I said, I just use the free one. I do the extra work to punch out the longitude, latitude. Shri Jyoti Star. So again, close to 300 bucks.
Vedic Scholar is another good website.
Vedic Scholar, okay. Vedic. It's free also.
Okay.
Awesome. Free I like.
You have to find a longitude, latitude. They have a link to do that though, so you don't have to.
Okay. There you go. Okay.
Could you repeat that?
They have a link to help you. So with the free programs, the ones that are underlined, you have to find the longitude, latitude yourself, which can be a pain in the butt.
But aren't you providing the latitude, longitudes on our basic chart?
I'm doing it manually.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have yours there. And your time zone, so that's all you got to punch in. I did the work for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
There was another one. Do you know mypunchung.com?
MyPunchung? Mm-hmm.
That doesn't, you don't have to calculate and it's free.
MyPunchung.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Also free. So a lot of free sites. Again, for instruction, I recommend it's soulhealing.com. Hank, kickback. Soulhealing.com. It's by Hank Friedman. And he writes some very insightful articles, especially on Rahu and Ketu. If you want to know more than you ever thought you wanted to know about Rahu and Ketu, read his stuff. Because I think he's a practicing psychologist or counselor, and he approaches Jyotish from that point of view, from that angle. Vata Pitta Kapha is for the planets.
Oh, for the planet.
Elements are for the signs.
Gotcha.
Okay?
So we can repeat Jupiter, the
Yeah, so Jupiter is Kapha, Saturn is Vata, Sun, Mars are Pitta. Mercury is tridoshic. Venus tends to go Vata Kapha like the moon. Moon changes, right? It gets big and juicy, and then it goes tiny, skinny, big and juicy. Now, these are the rulers. So this is the sign and the ruler of the sign. We will get to how to use this in a minute. So go ahead and copy it down. By the way, you know, when I had one good semester in high school, and that's when I took a French class, and all we did was study one poem. The whole semester. But through that one poem, we went so deep. We learned so much about how to pronounce, how to speak. And you can wake me up at midnight and I'll recite that poem for you. And what we're doing here, I'd like to think, is something akin to that. So far, we've only covered planets. We haven't talked about signs. We haven't talked about planets and houses. We haven't talked about nakshatras, exaltation, debilitation. But in my mind, you can either dig many shallow holes or dig one or two deep and then create a foundation on that. And so don't worry or don't think you're not learning enough. Not that you're thinking this, but rather get one thing really deep before moving to the next. Okay, everybody have this? Maître corbeau sur un arbre perché, tenait en son bec un fromage. Maître renard par l'odeur alléchée lui tint à peu près ce langage. Et bonjour, monsieur du corbeau, que vous êtes joli, que vous me semblez beau. Sans mentir, si votre ramage se rapporte à votre plumage, vous êtes le phénix des hôtes de ces bois. À ces mots, le corbeau ne se sent pas de joie, et, pour montrer sa belle voix, il ouvre un large bec, laisse tomber sa proie. Le renard s'en saisit et dit, « Mon bon monsieur, apprenez que tout flatteur vit aux dépens de celui qui l'écoute. Cette leçon vaut bien un fromage sans doute. » Le corbeau, honteux et confus, jura, mais un peu tard, qu'on ne l'y prendrait plus. That's the poem. It's about cheese, fromage.
I think the most well-known poem in France.
Well, the crow's got a cheese. The fox comes and he's like, oh, you're so beautiful, man. Look at you. Oh. And I bet your voice is so beautiful too. And the crow goes, really? Rah! Cheese comes down. And the fox says, sir, please learn that every flatterer lives at the expense of the person he flatters. This lesson is worth one cheese. And the crow, though ashamed but wiser, swears that he will never fall victim to that again. It's a little lesson. But the pronunciation and all anyway, there's a lot to it. Just like when you learn sutras, right? When you learn hita hitam sukham dukham mayustasya hita hitam, you learn something about Ayurveda that's more interesting than just saying a list. Oh, Ayurveda is about what's good for life, its measurement, blah, 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 blah. Lists are our thing. Poetry is the Vedic thing, right? Okay? So let's talk about your names. I forgot to give you an assignment. In your packet, you've got the sheet with Ganesha on front. You've got about a 3-page article on the name game. I encourage you to read that sometime. I was going to have you guys read it over lunch. It's this thing right here. Can I? I tried to save paper, so I made it really small type. I apologize for those of you and those of us who have a hard time. But it just talks about how names have evolved. And did you know that people didn't have last names? Like before the Norman conquest, before the 11th, 12th, people didn't have last names. Well, a lot of people don't, but, well, and it says it came about because people needed a tax, and they needed to identify you more. Anyhow, where I'm going with this is that based on the placement of your moon, there's a special sound that is special for you, sacred for you. I've written that sound for you on the back of your chart on the bottom right corner. Okay? I was just going to write it in Sanskrit, but I had mercy. So I wrote out the English too. Now, I am not qualified to teach primordial sound meditation. I probably shouldn't even say that. But that is something that Deepak Chopra and the institute that he and David Simon run founded. It's a program for teaching meditation that is that uses these bija seed syllables. Okay? Now, I'm not teaching that. What I'm teaching you is Jyotish. Jyotish, a big part of Jyotish is knowing your bija seed syllable. So I'm going to give you that and maybe save you a few $100, but I'm not teaching you meditation, okay? So what we're doing is just like I may know asanas, but I'm not teaching you Bikram yoga. That's a patented sort of series of asanas and blah, blah, blah. But I can teach you that asana, right? Does that make sense? Okay, with that legal stuff out of the way, there is also an article on how to meditate. By the way, I pulled these off the web. One is from the Himalayan Academy. The thing on the names is from HimalayanAcademy.com. If you want more information, you can go there. So, okay, let's just get down to the nitty-gritty. This is how I use it and how I found it to be useful. You can take your bija sound. Let's say it's vam, okay? First of all, it can be long or short vam or vam, doesn't matter. You can do Om Vam Namaha, Om Vam Namaha, and do that 108 times. Or, and I prefer this, Vam 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 Vam, and you can do that internally or voiced. It's up to you, and it'll change. You can count. Well, you can do them fast. You know, you could do 108 in less than a minute. You can do them slow. But this is your personal sound. One thing you will not get if you go anywhere else is the second personal sound. So the first one is based on the position of your moon. So I experimented a little bit, and in doing that, by the way, you know, probably best not to share it with others. You know, it's your sound. You keep it sort of secret. I mean, you could share it with your loved ones or if you want. But you do the sound for the moon. If then you do the sound for your ascendant, which is a different sound, usually, that can add something to it. So you can try, experiment with it. So let's say your ascendant sound is dim, dim. It could be dim or ding, any combination, long E, short E, ding, dim, ding, 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 right? Vam, 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 vam. You play with it. I've written them, so vam I would have written, if anyone had it, like that. Vung can sound, for those of you who are taking Sanskrit class, it can be this nasal. 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 Vang, vang, vang. As long as there is a nasal. Van, van, van. Varn, 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 varn. Vang, 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 vang. Vam, vam, vam.
I've got KUM.
Gong, 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 gong. Okay? So I would have put like, yeah, so if I wrote vam or if I wrote ta, dong, I don't know if that's one. Dong, dong, dong. It's not tam, tam, tam. This is an o, right? Sanskrit o. couple of you guys are not in my Sanskrit class, so it's okay. So if you want to ask me afterwards, I'll say it. Okay? But this isn't Tom.
So you had one and then a slash, so the ascendant is the second one?
Yes, so the first one is the main, the moon. I have a slash, and the next one is your ascendant. First one is the moon, second one is your ascendant. Then I gave you the chart. Now I had to make a few adjustments to that chart because there were some things that were off. You can get this chart on the internet. It'll be slightly different because I cross-referenced the chart I gave you with 2 others. So I checked to make sure that they all agreed, and I put everything in there. That's why some of you may have alternates. For one of your sounds, you may have this or that. Again, play with it. Okay? Pretty cool? There's a little article there that will help you. It's like a user article. After the naming, it'll talk about that meditation and how to do it. Okay? So you can read it and try it out. So, can we move on? Or questions? Yes?
So energetically, by chanting this, what is...
Oh, what happens? Oh yeah, why are we doing this? Good question. Why are we even looking at this? In Vedic astrology, you are named according to so the first sound of your name should be that sound, the sound where your moon was at birth. So if your moon was in Vam, then your name should somehow, or in Va actually. So what the Bija meditation does is it adds the nasal. The sounds are actually without a nasal. Okay, I should clarify that. So the sound is just Va or Va. To make it yours, to own it, to close it, Vam, you're owning it. So that's why we add the Om, Vam, Vang, Vang, or Vam, Vam. The sound is just Va. It's just a Sanskrit letter. Okay? So your name should begin with that because that's, there's a resonance there. There's a resonance. It's like, we talked about Lady Di, Lady Diana, Lady Di. You hear something long enough, it gets into your brain. Lady Di, Lady Di, Lady Di, Lady Di. There's a type of, it creates a samskara, it creates an impression on your mind. So you want to create the best possible impression. And what do you hear the most? Well, you hear your name. People call you by your name. So people will be calling, hey, Vanessa, hey, Vanessa, hey, va, 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 va. And you keep hearing va, and that, you vibrate at that level. So Doug, you asked why is Sanskrit better or whatever? Why does it adjust your brain? There are vibrations to every syllable, and they resonate with different people in different states of being. And when your state of being resonates with your name and you're constantly getting it reinforced, there's something magical that happens. You grow. Read the article. The article is really cool. And in every tradition, heck, our own names are called Christian names. People who, we're all a different mix of cultures, but Native Americans have their own names. The English in England had their own names. But when you all come together and we're, under God, e pluribus unum, instead of being whatever you were, you become John, Mary, Paul, Ruth. All Christian names. These are the names we have. Simon, Christian name, right? The idea is to find your soul name. And this is how gurus give out spiritual names. Well, it's one way. Or how astrologers give out names. So if this child is born and her sound is Va, we could call her Vanessa. We could call her Vandana if she were, in India. Whatever your tradition, you find Va or Va. Okay? Toby. Right? It's not that hard. Kobe. I don't know. And if Ko is your sound and you keep hearing, hey Kobe, hey Kobe, hey Kobe, it helps you be who you are. It helps you shine. Okay? Make sense? This is the first time I've ever done this, and I mentioned I would give it to you guys, so there you go. It's not directly related to interpreting horoscopes, but someone in India, if they just hear your name, they can guess where your moon was, and then they can give you a whole reading. Because in a traditional, that somewhere Brahmin society, the Jyotishi is always present, and he will look at the child and say, this should be the name. Da, 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 da. And based on that name, now anybody can read their chart because they know where the moon was. Questions? Should we move on? Okay. Okay. Yes?
So the second sound,
Yeah.
should you use both sounds?
You can. What I've done is I do one 108, then do the other 108. Try that. And if the second one doesn't fit, don't do it. If the first one doesn't fit, play with it. But it should resonate right away for you. You do it a couple times in meditation, and you'll know. Okay? There's no Shaktipat that I'm giving with these sounds. So it either works for you or it doesn't. Okay, I told you guys, show you how to know the best time to ask for a raise, the best time to make love, the best time to eat, the best time to meditate. This is something you can take right now with you. And if you learn nothing but this from this class, you can use this every day in your life. Okay? All right. The first house of the horoscope represents the east, the eastern horizon. Okay? The seventh is the west. The 10th is the south. The 4th is the north. These are the directions. Now, if you can picture, the sun is here. We'll start with the sun in the ascendant. As the sun rises, it moves this way through the 12th house, 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, and then down through the 6th. This is our horizon. So the sun is only visible in these houses. Okay? Okay? So in Albuquerque, east is which way? This way, right? Okay, so this is east. When the sun rises, by the way, living in the northern hemisphere, the sun will never rise and go this way. Are we okay with that? You will never turn this way to look at the sun. If you lived in Australia, maybe, yeah. But here, no. Because the path of all the planets, as well as the sun, called the ecliptic, is all to the south. So when you watch the planets move, they go like this, and then they set. You'll never watch them. Oh, there's Mars right there. No. Okay? So as the sun is rising, it'll move. It'll move through the 12th, the 11th, the 10th, 10th, 9th, 8th, and 7th houses. As it does, the energy in our own natural biorhythms change. Then the sun sets. Here the sun sets. And now the sun is no longer visible. This is called nighttime. So how many of you have the sun in the 4th house? Anybody? Those of you who do were born around midnight.
What's the sun? What's the
SU. Those of you who have the sun in the 4th house were born around midnight because morning, noon. Okay, so let's do this. Sunrise, sunset, noon, midnight. Okay? So far, so good? So as the sun rises, let's say sunrise, for the sake of our example, is 6 a.m. Let's say sunset is 6 p.m. on this perfect day. So roughly 6 to 8 is going to be the first house. Roughly. Okay? Roughly. Could be 5 to 7. Okay, let me erase these here. Roughly 8 to 10 is going to be the 12th house. 10 to 12 is the 11th house. 12 to 2 is the 10th house. 2 to 4, and I'll put p.m. here. 2 to 4 p.m., 9th house. 4 to 6, 8th house, and then roughly 6 to 8. Okay? So, starting at sunrise, sun is in the first house. This is why we said between 8 to 10 a.m. it's really difficult to get up. You feel sluggish, you want to stay in bed, because the sun is in the 12th house. And that 12th house pulls you into that escapey, dreamy land that you like to be in. It's bed pleasures, it's comfortable, okay? But also the 12th house, when most people start getting up, it is a change of, it's a loss of that dream world, because you do get up and you lose that. Remember, 12th is a house of loss. You lose that previous consciousness. Can you remember what you dreamt? Most people don't. You lose that whole world and you enter a new world. 12th house. House of transformation, a house of losing something but gaining something else. Okay, as the sun moves, it goes into the 11th house. So what is this time good for? Social, yeah, okay. So if we take it as, let's say, 6 to 8, you get up, take care of your body, bodily needs, okay? Go to the bathroom, you wash yourself, you take care of your body. First house, body. When you wake up, let's say you get up during 6 to 8, you first become aware of your body. Okay, then 12th house, you get in your car and go to work, long distance travel. You go from your home to a foreign place, which is your job. For many people, it is a very foreign place. Okay? Then you're at your job and you're social. You're communicating, you meet all your job friends. Okay, 12 to 2. So then by the way, so this is one of the best times to ask for a raise, to talk, to be social. This is when people will be receptive to you. Okay? 12 to 2, sun is in the 10th house. This is a time for getting things done. 10th house is house of action. It's also a good time to eat. Okay? When the sun is in the 9th house, you come back. This is a good time for communication. Doing long phone calls if you need to make long distance phone calls. It is a house of God and religion. So when the sun is in the 9th house, right around 2 to 4 or 1 to 3, good time for spiritual thoughts. So today, 1:30, I got home, 2 o'clock, right at lunch, and said a little prayer. It just felt right, Then, the worst time, now. We're in this now because now we're in winter. So sunrise is not at 6. Sunrise is later. Sunset is earlier. We're in the 8th house now. Do you guys feel it? I know. Yeah, I really should go home and sleep, but I paid for this damn class, so I'm going to stay. You know, it's heavy. It's a little heavy in here. I can feel it. This is called the 8th house. Welcome to the 8th house. What the 8th house is good for is two profound things. Number one, going deep with anything. This is not a good time to be buddy-buddy, social. Hey, so let's make plans for Friday. Hey, what do you feel like doing? No. This is a time to go in. So if you do like crosswords, or if you do sculpture, or if you're studying Jyotish, and you just close the door, turn off the phone, and you're going deep. Okay? Because the 8th house is the house of oral traditions. This is the house of sacred, of the occult. This is a good time to cast spells on people. Okay? What it is also a great time is for is a nap. Great time for a nap because, and that's why in many cultures, after lunch is siesta time. They instinctively know to avoid the 8th house because what happens, arguments, accidents. I gave this class and there were a couple of nurses in the room. They raised their hand and said, most of the trauma and the deaths that we get happen during this time, during the 8th house time. Not 4 to 6 p.m., but when the sun is in the 8th house, when it's kind of like over there. So in the winter, it's earlier. So right now it's 3:40. We're definitely in the 8th house. Yeah, and then there's daylight savings time. Don't rely so much for this on clock time. Just notice what's happening with you. You'll feel it. This is the easiest one to feel because, you know, guy's taking his shirt off. We're getting we're getting cozy. It's nap time. This because it's such a drastic difference from before, from anything before and after. The good news is when the sun moves to the 7th, 8th house is gone. Now we're happy again. We had an argument during the 8th house. Don't pursue it. Let it go. Say, okay, let's talk about this later. I don't agree with you, but let's talk about it later. Step away. When the 7th house comes, or the 11th, or the 5th, whatever, then talk and say, Elf, you know what? I could totally see your point. Yeah, forget about it. Just the energy is different. But the nurses said that many of the deaths happened during the 8th house. When they got that, they just felt it. Oh, here it comes. You know? Well, you're a doctor. I don't know what your experience is, but the 8th house is a house of death. Another thing this is good for, and this is when we teach a different type of seminar, it is a house of sex. So this is what they mean by afternoon delight. That is the 8th house. Now there are a lot of houses for sex. The sex houses are the 8th, the 5th, the 12th, and the 2nd. But each of them have a different energy. 8th house is very lustful. It's very primal. Who is it that I was talking with? We were wondering someone should do a study on this, that most pornography shoots might be filmed at this time as well. That type of powerful, but it's a powerful energy. 5th house is more of a fun, making love. This is not making love. This is making love. Okay? Fun, recreation, making babies. Right? Recreation. Okay, the 12th house, we talked about bed pleasures. This is morning. Okay, and we'll get to the 2nd. So the 8th house, good for two things. Taking a nap, or going very deep and intense, being very intense with something. And intense is good for only a few things. Okay? As the sun moves, then we get to around sunset time in the 7th house. Around dawn and dusk is when the most sattva, the most purity is in the air. So you'll feel around sunset, the waters get calm. Everything just kind of gets calm. The air gets calm. The animals get calm. It's like almost like, I don't know, angels are here and now everybody's watching the sunset. That's not a good time to have sex. You don't want to disturb the sattvic time with a rajasic activity. So at these sattvic times, sunrise and sunset, they should be observed for either meditation, quiet contemplation, or being with your honey and, enjoying a sunset or a nice activity. It's quiet. Okay? So, then the sun moves into the 6th house. Now the sun has set. It's below the horizon and it's gone to the 6th house, which is under us. 6th house is what? Duty. Service. So what do you do during that time? You cook dinner. You're back from work. You've bought. Again, these times are a little bit arbitrary. This could be 6 p.m. Okay? You're driving home from work. You went to the store. You pick up food. You pick up your kids. You go home. You wash your kids. You wash yourself. You wash the house. You prepare for dinner. You cook dinner. You eat dinner. 6th house. Taking care of the necessities. Remember, it's a house of food also, nutrition. None of it can be called very fun, especially the shopping, the driving around, all that stuff. But then the fun comes. Sun moves to the 5th house. This is when you've had dinner, and most of us Americans sit down, turn on the TV. Let's see what's on the tube. Entertain me. 5th house, fun, entertainment. Here's the thing about this. This isn't something I'm telling you is. You're already doing this. You already live by these cycles, whether you know it or not. They're just natural cycles. These are natural biorhythms. But by being a little bit savvy with them, you can plan. You don't want to propose to someone in the 8th house, right? You don't want to say, will you marry me? She might be having a bad time here. She'll say yes here, maybe here, no here, or he, okay? So you can be savvy about how you plan your day. So when the sun is in the 5th house, this is now around 9 to 10 p.m. In the winter, it'd be about 7 to 8, 9, around there. When do most baseball games start, or basketball games? 7:30 p.m. Concerts, 8 p.m., 7, 8, 9 p.m. This is when the fun is. This is when you go out. You've had dinner. You either sit down and watch TV, or you go out. Let's go to a club or something. Then as the sun moves into the 4th house, now we enter the deep mind. This is a time for sleep, where you go unconscious. Okay, even if you're awake and you're up around that time, this is why, according to Ayurveda, you shouldn't violate these rhythms, because by the end of this, you should be in bed. And you should be enjoying your whole 4th and 3rd house in bed. Because then you access that very deep sleep. If you stay up past the middle of the night, then you're missing that deep sleep. And if you do that habitually, it's not good. Okay? So here you should be sleeping. 3rd house is the superficial mind, right? And this is when you start having the REM sleep, where the thoughts start now getting themselves out. And you start getting tics. You're sleeping, but you're moving. 3rd house, motion. Okay? So sleep. Then the sun moves into the 2nd house. What is the 2nd house rule? Money. Food. Family, nourishment. But we're going to talk about food. When the sun is in the 2nd house, according to Jyotish, and according to your natural biorhythms, I will put this to you. This will contradict a little bit of your Ayurvedic, but prove me wrong, is the best time to eat. Before dawn, when you wake up, is when you're most anabolic. Anabolic means your body's in a growth phase. That's the time to feed it. Because anything you eat at that time doesn't turn to fat. It gets sucked in. So people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, many bodybuilders, athletes, they will set their clocks early so they can get up and have a protein shake, then go back to bed. They just intuitively know this. When I eat here, I just grow and recover so much better because your body is anabolic, building. Those of you who have kids, have you noticed that your kids, before dawn, 4, 5 a.m., start to wake up and cry because they're getting hungry? Have you noticed that? Or, yeah? I've got that from a lot of mothers who've confirmed this. So, okay.
The Muslims, when they're fasting, they wake up at that time.
To eat.
And then they stay hungry the whole rest of the day.
Ah, beautiful. And so here's what I've noticed when I've done this. When I do eat at 4 a.m., I'm really not that hungry. Like I could wait definitely till breakfast, 8 or 9 a.m., then I can eat. But really, if you wanted to go, you can go because you've nourished your body at the time when it's most ready to suck in nutrients. It'll just take everything.
In Dr. Lett's book, The Science of Self-Healing, he recommends eating dates, peppering ghee or something like that to help with absorption and assimilation at that time.
Is that right? Okay. Thank you. I didn't know that. Very anabolic time. Incidentally, this is when testosterone peaks. So, men get erections, when they're sleeping. But because testosterone is peaked, you want to feed the body, again, assimilation of nutrients and protein especially. So, sun in the second house. But Jyotish, beautiful. Second house is nourishment. Okay? And then we're back to, okay? Questions? So I told you guys you'd be able to feel it. If you wake up at 4 a.m. is also called Brahma Muhurta, the time of Brahma. It is the most sacred time generally in the Vedic worldview because there's no cars driving. Nobody's talking on the phone. People are at least not around you. Everybody's quiet. The world is just in a complete deep silence. Then when you wake up and you want to call God on the phone, the line's open. Nobody, people haven't started getting up and going, oh God, I need to know, my knee hurts. Oh God, this. God's not getting any calls. So 4 a.m. is a great time. So then what do? Do you eat first? Do you pray first? Is that a valid question? Do you guys? What I would do is I would go offer something, on your altar or in some way offer something. Then go make myself something, protein shake. You don't have to eat 2 steaks during the second house, okay? You don't have to go to have baby back ribs. In fact, if you do, don't come to my class again. No, it's okay. That's totally fine. Have something. Have something that has protein. So a glass of milk with ghee and maybe, some hot milk and dates. Boy, that's beautiful. That's very nourishing. And you won't get fat from it because it's the second house. And then sit and do your meditation. Now you have some Shakti for your meditation. You haven't taken up your stomach so much to where you're heavy. Don't have 3 bowls of cereal. Have enough to where your body is content and sit and meditate. Or if you prefer, meditate and then eat. But because the second house is a 2-hour window. You're not going to miss it if you meditate between 4 to 4:45. Then just eat after that. Nourish yourself. The idea is nourish yourself during this time. Okay? About 2 hours before dawn. Okay? Make sense? Okay. One last thing about this is, what I've noticed is that the 12th house really begins after the sun has fully risen over the horizon, and there is some space, you can see space between the horizon and the sun. It's basically already in the 12th. Okay? And then you can start from there. Because once I see that and the sun is already up, I start, I want to go back to bed. 12th house is here. I can feel it. I can feel it in my body. Okay? Salu. Okay, done with that. So this is one way to use Jyotish in your daily life and just have awareness. What am I feeling right now? Do I want to be active? If you want to go and run errands, go to the store, do blah, 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 do it. 10th house. 8th house, unless you're going to a flea market and finding like really deep bargains on something, this is a good time to go bargain hunting. Like you get really, really deep discounts. 8th house. But it could be a pain in the butt.
What's the best time for exercise?
Ah,
Aerobic type exercise.
good question. First house is always good. It's the invisible hand of the market, which is not so invisible. First house is a great time to exercise. You know, the 6th house is good, but you'll feel like you're at the gym just because you have to be, because you're doing your duty. 6th house is better to get a massage. After work, you're still taking care of your body, but it's much more blissful than going to the gym and getting on the treadmill, although you can do that here. Do not exercise during the 8th house. You will get injured. Okay? Injuries happen here. Okay? Do not exercise during the 8th house. Otherwise, any time is good. The 10th house is good, unless you're pitta. See, 8th house, accidents, things are falling, everything. Occult, invisible hands are reaching over here. Weird house. We should be ready for anything. But 8th house, accidents, so don't go driving around too much or doing stuff with your body. Your body's not flexible during this time. Your muscles become tight. And if you try to force them and stretch them, you can get problems. Okay? First house, good time to work out. Okay? You know, if you're the working out type, I mentioned bodybuilders and Arnold, they'll get up at 4 a.m. and train. Great time to work out. Great time. Because your body's already anabolic. It's building. And you're not going to break it down so much to where it can't recover. Okay? TK? Okay. So, next thing, your basic archetypal pattern. Okay. If you have a planet in the first house, by the way, notice that it was very hard for some people to come back. A couple people left, one person in the back left. 8th house, once you got home and had lunch, it's very hard to get up and, so I congratulate you guys. You are overcoming the gunas, the tamas that is present right now. And this is a good sign of a spiritual practitioner. In fact, I remember in sitting with my teacher and sitting in on one of your lectures, I talked about this in the tutoring class. When Dr. Lad was lecturing, I noticed everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people starting to nod off doing one of these. And it was almost like a palpable energy was coming out, just making you so totally relaxed. And then a few people were just... Now, I will put it to you, that wasn't just fatigue. There is something, especially when there is a Ganesha transmission, when Ganesha is coming through, there's like a heaviness, and it's this thing that kind of comes over you. And you, like, the best thing in the world is just to kind of fall into it and go, oh. But then you kind of kick yourself, go, no, I don't want to fall asleep. I don't want to start snoring. It's more than just physical fatigue. That is a type of transmission. And I saw it in Dr. Lad's class, even through the video, which is cool. So as he was teaching, like, people were just dropping, just as one class, not all the classes are like that, because a different day will be totally different. It'll be just very cheerful, everyone's laughing, everyone's this, different energies coming through. But there's one type of energy that comes through that is palpable. So what do you do? Usually you want to fight it and stay awake. Usually. because it's healing you. There is healing energy, and it's just Ganesha is just permeating. It's like these neutrinos are just coming through you. At times, when you desperately need it and your body needs it, let yourself go. Just forget about the lecture and just, it's okay. My teacher used to get it all the time. People would just, they would come, we'd be vibrating, hey, how's it going? He starts teaching 5 minutes later. It's not fatigue, you know. I couldn't fall asleep that fast if I tried. It's a transmission. So usually you want to fight it and just stay present if you can, because you're getting the healing anyway. But if you need to, let yourself go. Okay. So that's a little side note. Okay. Planets in the first house. So Hannah, you said, nuts and bolts of your life map. I want to make sure we cover everything. We did Tantric Daily Biorhythms. By the way, the number one, find your blind spot, we did that, right? Special talent. What's a special talent? What planet do we look at? Moon. What's special in your life? Your vital energy. How to channel it? Well, you look to the house where Mars sits. Wherever your Mars is where it'll be easiest for you to channel your energy. So if Mars is in your 5th house, channel it through creative means. If it's in your 1st, work out your body, man. Work your body. Okay? Challenges and restrictions. Which planet is that?
Saturn.
Where you're restricted somehow. Saturn will give you a limitation. Okay? And then how to express beauty. Which planet is that? Venus will help you to express beauty by its location, where it's located in your chart. Okay?
Isn't what's being played out in our life oftentimes what we see? In other words, we say we channel our energy in a particular direction, then we look back and we say, oh my gosh, I've been doing that, and I'm doing it right now.
Yeah?
And so
We, you know, whether we want to admit it or not, or whether we like it or not, we are. Oh, sorry, the question was, aren't we already channeling our energy? Aren't we doing this anyway? Answer is absolutely yes. Just like we are already living these biorhythms. Let me tell you, even when a saint goes into the 8th house, they're thinking 8th house stuff. They're feeling sluggish. They may be beyond it. They may be beyond their thoughts. But your body just, it's in there because the environment is that. So you can't separate yourself from your environment. And this is what we're studying, is to develop a relationship with our environment. Your chart is a relationship between you and the cosmos, and how the cosmos is sort of telling you what your karma is and so on. Okay? Number 2 we did, so nuts and bolts. Ruling planets and what they mean for you. Okay? Yes?
The first ruling planet, AX.
Okay, AS stands for the ascendant. So everyone has an AS here. That simply means that that's the first house. It's for people who haven't taken this course, because you guys already know this is the first house, right? Right? So AS just tells people that's the first house. Ascendant literally means where something rises. Ascend, that's where the sun rises. Hence, this is the east. Sun rises, right? Ascendant. Okay, whatever planet you have in here becomes an archetypal planet for you. If you have Venus here, then I would suggest that you develop, well, I would suggest that you already have a special relationship because you are that. But you bring it to more of your conscious awareness. Venus is my ruling planet. If you have two, then let's say you have Venus and Mars, whatever it is. Then find out which is the stronger of the two.
If you have none.
Now, if you have none, remember what I asked you to take down? Okay, okay, give me 1 second and we'll get there right now. So, does that make sense? Whatever planet is in here will affect you directly because the first house is you, your body. So if you have Jupiter in the first house, you can't help but have a sort of Jupiterian, jolly, expansive outlook on life. If you have Saturn in the first house, you can't help but have a little bit of a cynical, constricted outlook on life. If the moon is in the first house, you can't help but that people are attracted to you. Not necessarily for your beauty, but just for your charm. Okay? So your moon becomes important. If you have no planet in there, then what we're going to do is find which sign is in there. The way we find the sign is by looking at the number. So now we come to this. Which house is this still? First house. Good. But now we notice there is a sign in here. These numbers, the Arabic numerals, stand for a sign. And when you guys wrote them out, this is a form of shorthand to translate Gemini as the number 3. Okay? This is something you just commit to memory. A lot of you may know this from Western astrology. Okay? Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. Okay? So what is the rising sign or the ascendant here? Virgo. Very good. So anyone who has, did somebody raise your hand back there? Who has this number here means they're a Virgo. Virgo rising. Sir, who raised your hand, would you say that you exemplify Virgoan qualities? Not at all. Of course, he's being sarcastic, but okay. By the way, what are Virgoan qualities? Analytical. Here we can go straight from Western. Those of you who know the Western signs, they're pretty similar. Virgos. There's a thing on your shirt. Clean it. Here. Let me get the spray. Okay. Are you wearing those dirty socks? You already wore. No, we gotta wash these. No, clean. Virgos, punctilious, clean. If they walk into your car and you've got nuts and seeds and some they will literally be affected physically. Their body will, but they'll be too polite to say anything. Unless maybe there's Mars in Virgos, then they'll be like, I'm taking you to the car wash now. I'm not doing it for you, I'm doing it for me. Because they are affected by your sloppiness. The problem is there's 11 other signs who are not Virgo. And so Virgos think that their way is the way. But most of the rest of the world knows that they're really out to lunch. Okay. He's going to kill me later. No, it is in fact because of Virgos that we have running civilization. Because, now watch this, number 6 is the natural sign of which house? If we start with 1, the 6th house. They are the ones who do things out of a sense of service, of necessity, what needs to be done. I don't care if I'm not comfortable, if I don't feel like it. This needs to be done now. We might have to do it. They set up the streets, the sanitation, the electricity, the grids, the plumbing. They're the ones who think of things like this, because without them, things would just be a mess. Have you guys been to India before? India was not made by Virgos. India is not a Virgo country. You know what is a Virgo country? Canada. Countries all have signs, by the way. Singapore, yes. Germany is an Aries country, actually. Germany's Aries. But India is a Capricorn country. Saturn is the messiest of the planets, maybe next to Rahu, but Rahu doesn't rule any country. So one way, see, we can get more into this in future stuff, but signs have relationships. So to know how two countries will relate, you look at their signs. If they're inimical, then those countries will never get along.
Is that because of their decision in the earth?
It's a good question. How do we come to the country sign? It's the character of the country. And it's just, we are a Gemini. America is Gemini.
Actually, Dr. Ladd looked at India when we were there. He actually took the date the country was
Oh, yeah, yeah.
liberated.
And you can get it from the horoscope of the country. Everything has a...
Explained all the issues with Pakistan and everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. See, this stuff isn't just about when will I get a job. It's about how you feel during the day. It's about how countries relate. It's about a lot of stuff.
Light on life.
Light on Life. Yes, it is his Light on Life, which is incidentally the name of Hard Defoe's book. Excellent book, recommended to everyone. You may need a translator to read it, however, because it's very profound. Okay, so this is a Virgo rising. Therefore, the ruling planet for you would be the ruler of Virgo. Remember you wrote that down? So the ruler of Virgo is Mercury. Okay? So what if we had this situation here? Who would be your ruling planet? First of all, what sign is this?
Aries.
Who's the ruler of Aries?
Mars.
Okay, so your planet is Mars. So if you're Aries rising, even if you have other planets in there, Mars will always have a special hold for you. So when people look at you, they'll go, Mars, right? There's something Martian about you, even if other planets are there. Because that's your ascendant. And that's how in Vedic we tell you your sign. So in Western, it's your sun sign, where your sun is. But in Vedic, we look at your ascendant. So this person is in Aries. I'm this, you're that. Okay? Make sense? Yes?
Question. So my rising sign is Sagittarius, which is Kapha, and my sun sign is Scorpio, which is Pitta. Can you tell someone's Pitta, and I'm Pitta Kapha?
You're Pitta. Amazing. Now, Sagittarius is actually a fire sign. But the ruler of Sagittarius is, so her question was, I'm a Sagittarius. What number goes in the first house?
9.
Good. We're almost out of the 8th house. You guys are coming back. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. This is how you draw a chart, folks. You draw it, whatever the ascendant is, it fixes, so then everything else follows. So she is Sagittarius. The ruler is Jupiter. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Jupiter is so fire, Pitta, maybe we can say. Jupiter is Kapha, definitely. She said, can we determine my constitution based on that? Yeah, it can be that simple, or it cannot, because there can be other influences. But you're Pitta Kapha. Enough said. Good. Is that? Okay. So does that make sense? Now, can everyone pinpoint their planet? Their ruling planet?
They have qualities, like you told us a little bit about Mars and Venus, but what about the sun?
The sun. What about the sun? So the question was, you told us about Mars and Venus. Can you tell us like about the sun? So like Leo rising or the sun in the first house? Well, what does the sun suggest to you?
Well, brightness, luminosity, burning.
Burning. Pitta. Okay.
Yeah.
So Pitta, number one. One word, Pitta. How much is stored in that one word? What can we know just by knowing Pitta? Volumes. Oh, overactive liver, hyperdigestion, critical. We can go from the physical to the mental, emotional, and back, like in 3 seconds. Okay, but the sun, Jyotish goes even further. So the sun is a royal planet. The sun is the king. There is something about a person who has a sun in the first house or who is Leo in the first house, because, right? Because Leo is ruled by the sun. So even if you don't have the sun in the first house, Leo people have a sense of regality. They're a little bit royal. They don't have to be royalty. They have a bearing. They just know that they need to be served. It's that simple. Or they're good at giving orders. Or there's just a royal bearing. Okay? The sun is, does that help? Yep, she's like, oh, that's it, stop.
That's what she said. Well, either Leo rising, sun ruling means you want to be in control or you want to be the center of attention always. I mean, that's kind of like what you're saying.
So, yeah, so her astrologer said that she wants to be the center of attention and controlling, but is that true about you? Yeah, oh, she's like, yeah, of course. That is the natural order of things. There's the lion, and then there's the mouse and the pig and the whatever. But the lion is here. That's how things are. Good. And it's, Leos also will emphasize their hair in some way. They'll either have a mane, or they'll put wear these amazing hats or put stuff in their hair to somehow emphasize the hair. You know a Leo because their hair is emphasized. Okay? There's little things about the signs. You can't always tell. I have a hard time telling people's ascendants. But anyway. Taurus people have prominent necks. Taurus, bull. Taurus is the bull. Aries people will have eyebrows like the ram, kind of like that. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But Aries people accentuate their eyebrows. Or they have interesting eyebrows.
My son is an Aries.
Yeah? Yeah, kind of. Like, what you talking about? Kind of.
Does it roughly correspond to the house body part?
Yeah, second house is the neck, right? Second house is the face and neck. So the question was, does the sign correspond to the house body part? Absolutely. So Aries and the... So let's do this again. Do you understand her question? Aries, the number 1, and the first house both rule the head. So Aries people will have prominent heads because they go head first into everything, right? I haven't tried this. Let me try it. Boom. Like a ram. The symbol is the ram. And they will butt heads with people if they have to. Okay? Aries, the head. Second house and the second sign, which is Taurus, rules the face and neck, what supports the head. So prominent necks, like a bull. Strong like bull. Okay? Gemini rules the hands, so does the third house. And so on. Fourth house, the heart, the breasts, and everything in the chest. And Cancer also same. Cancer people have sort of wide shoulders. They have sort of a caring, like they look like moms. Even Cancer men look like they're caring. Like if they give you a hug, you'll just feel so good. There's something like you want a hug from a Cancer person. Okay? Leo. Well, here's where it gets different. So Leos emphasize their hair, but the fifth house is the stomach and the inner organs in here. Sixth house, Virgo, down here. Seventh house is Libra, sexual organs, yes. Scorpio, yes. External sexual organs, anus. Sagittarius, the thighs, yes. Capricorn, the knees. Aquarius, the calves. Yep, corresponds to the signs. Pretty much. Skin fits in. Skin is ruled by Mercury. When you have Rahu, Mercury together, you may have acne or skin problems, chronic skin problems. When you have Mars and Mercury together, you may have skin inflammation. When you have Saturn and Mercury together, you may have dark splotches on your skin. Okay?
And when you have Sun
means you're very bright. So so the question was, when you have Sun and Mercury together, what does that mean? So now we're going to segue into planetary combinations. Okay?